All right, friends, for today's reading lesson, we are going to be determining theme. So if you guys open up to page 354 in your purple workbook, that would be lovely. If you need to pause so you can get ready, then you can do that. Okay, so we are going to be determining theme. We're going to be going back into the story and underlining things just like we would at school. So I'm going to read the directions first. You can follow along. It says the theme is the lesson or the main message of a story. So it's the main idea of a story. I'm going to circle that. To determine or figure out the theme of a story, think about what's happening in the story and ask yourself, what big idea is the story about? So there's going to be a bunch of details and characters and things that we'll be reading about in the story, but we have to determine the main idea or the theme. So what we're going to be doing is going to our close read notes. We're going to follow directions to underline our text. Working with your class, use 3 of the parts you underline to complete the charts. So we are going to write some things in here, and then we will figure out the main idea from that. So we are going to start at the beginning. I'm going to hold my page with my quarter. So we are going to go to our story. It's on page 328. If you need to get there and pause the video, you can do that. Okay, so our story is called The Garden of Happiness, and it says it's a realistic fiction. If you guys can remember what that means, realistic fiction. Fiction means fake, but realistic has the word real in it because it means it could happen. It's a fake story, but could happen. So we are going to not reread it, just look over here. So we are going to determining theme. So if you are on page 333 with me, it wants us to do 2 things. I crossed out the bottom part just because this is our first time doing this on camera together. I want to just be able to do one. So determining theme, it says underline the names of the grown-ups working in the garden, beginning with paragraph 3. So if we're looking at both sides, remember these numbers tell us which paragraph it is. So it says beginning in paragraph 3. I'm going to read these and then we're going to go back and underline the names who are working in the garden. So it says the next afternoon, Marisol saw people digging up stones. Mr. Ortiz worked with a pickaxe. So already I hear 2 characters, Marisol and Mr. Ortiz. ¿Qué pasa? Marisol asked. Mrs. Willie Mae Washington leaned on her shovel and wiped her forehead. I'm gonna grow me black-eyed peas and greens and my sweet potatoes too, she said, like on my daddy's farm in Alabama. No more store-bought collard greens for me. So on this page alone, how many characters did you guys hear? I hope your answer was 3 because I heard 3 characters. So I want us to underline them. The first one is Marisol. She's the main character. Our next character was Mr. Ortiz. And our third character on this page was Mrs. Willie Mae Washington. And Mrs. Willie Mae Washington talked about her daddy's farm, but he's not a character in our actual book. So we have 3 on this page. And now we're going to go over here and see if we can find any more. So we will call it the Garden of Happiness, Mr. Singh said. Another character. I am planting velour, such a beautiful vine of lavender and red. Yes, everyone is happy when they see this bean from Bangladesh. On another day, Marisol watched Mr. Castro, so another character, preparing the ground. Mrs. Rodriguez rolled a wheelbarrow full of peat moss. Marisol inhaled the fresh soil smelling of spring. "Oh, I want to plant something in the garden of happiness," Marisol said. "Too late, Nina," Mr. Ortiz said. "All of the plants are already taken." So on this side, we hear a couple more characters. I see 1, 2, 3. 3 new characters. We're going to underline them together. It's Mr. Singh. We have Mr. Castro, Mrs. Rodriguez, and it mentions Mr. Ortiz again, but we already underlined him over here. So we have 3 characters on this side as well. So Marisol, Mr. Ortiz, Mrs. Willie Mae Washington, Mr. Singh, Mr. Castro, and Mrs. Rodriguez. If you guys need to pause to finish up underlining, that's okay. And then when you're finished, we are going to keep going. So I want you to turn the page. There's no theme on here. Turn the page. Oh, here's our next determining theme. So the directions say to underline the words that tell what Marisol takes for her patch. So the pictures are over here and over here. I will read you this and then we'll figure out what the answer is. Marisol had no seedlings or even small cuttings or roots. "What can I do?" she thought. "Where can I find something to plant?" She went to the corner where old Mrs. Garcia was feeding the pigeons. Marisol helped herself to a big flat seed. The birds fluttered about angrily. "Only one," she told them, "for my garden." So the question says, underline the words that tell what Marisol takes for her patch. So after what I read, what did she take that she can plant in her garden? I hope you guys said that she took a seed from the birds. So right here it says Marisol helped herself to a big flat seed. We are going to underline that sentence. Remember, our answers are always in the text. We just have to find them. We've been doing this all year. So our question or the statement that it told us to do is underline that the word or the words that told us what she took. So we reread and then we found what she took in that sentence, so we underlined it. If you guys need to pause and catch up, that's okay. If not, we are going to turn the page. Turn the page. Turn the page. Turn the page again. One more time. Actually, 2 more times. Okay, here's our last determining theme. So I'm going to read you the directions. It says, underline details that show people in the community are excited about the wall painting. So we're supposed to underline how they are excited. And it says the theme is the theme of the story has to do with the community. So our main idea it's telling us is the community. So I'm going to read this and then you're going to tell me how we know they're excited. It says a golden haze shone on the street. There was a big crowd, like on a holiday. Music from Bodega was loud and bright. And what she saw made Marisol laugh and dance and clap her hands. So we have a picture over here, but how do we know that the people are excited? For one, it says there was a big crowd. So a lot of the people came because they were excited. It said there was music. And from the bodega, it was loud and bright. And then our last sentence said, what she saw made Marisol laugh and dance and clap her hands. So if we think about body language and someone's clapping and laughing and kind of dancing around, we can guess that they're excited. So laugh, dance, and clap her hands. If you guys need to pause to get those underlined, you can do that. And now we are going to fill in our chart. So we've done these, and now we are determining themes. So we're going to write our 3 text evidence pieces that we underlined, and then we're going to determine a main idea. I don't have a ton of time left, so we are going to go through this, and then if you need to pause the video to continue writing, you can do that. So the first thing we underlined, if you guys could remember, were those 6 characters. So I'm going to write 6 characters. And if we had more time, I would write out their names, but right now we do not. My video will only upload if it's shorter. The second thing we underlined, we go back and look. Remember, if you don't remember, you can always go back in the text. And that's what I'm showing you to do. So the second one was, what did she take for her patch? And it was, she took a big flat seed. So that's what we're going to write over here. She took a big flat seed. And the last box that we underlined was, how did we know that the community was happy? And we saw, I'm just going to write bullet points. There was a big crowd. There was music that was loud and bright. And Marisol was clapping, dancing. What else was she doing? Let's go back in the text and look. Clapping, dancing, and laughing. So if you guys need to pause so that you can write that, that's perfect. So if we think about these things, we're talking about the community and we're talking about Marisol, and all together, what did they do? What was the story about? It was about the community creating a garden of happiness. And then when they were done, they celebrated with the evidence that we found from right here. So our theme or big idea is the community grew a garden of happiness together. So the main idea is that all these people from the community came together to create a garden. And we know that's the main idea from all these details that we found in our story. So again, if you need to pause this and continue writing, you feel free to do that. And I'm glad you stayed with me this long, and we will see you next lesson. Thanks, guys.